Hello and welcome to the 99th gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 24th of March. I'm your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and have your headphones at the ready as we gather at the meeting table. And I want to introduce to you my partner in crime, Glenn Bittner. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Brad. Wait, are we admitting to crime?
Maybe. We don't know.
I'm fine with that.
Figurative crime. How's that?
Okay.
Are you more comfortable with that?
Sure.
Okay. We'll run with that.
Would I figuratively be wearing pants or no?
Pants are optional.
Okay, then I'm okay with it.
Excellent. And we're off. All right. Say, we do this goofy thing here where we giggle like school children, and we talk about games and gaming and all that good stuff, and we always start out with Glenn's review of a game, since he is the manager of the Board Game Barrister in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. One of the locations, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So, why don't you tell us about a game called Rangers of Shadowdeep?
Yes, Rangers of Shadowdeep. This one, it's from Joseph McCullough, who is also the creator of Frostgrave. And I have to also mention the really, really great art by Barrett Stanley as well. So the basic premise of this game, Rangers of Shadowdeep, it's a solo or co-op tabletop managers game. So there's a series of campaigns in the main book you can play through, and there's already 2 supplemental campaign books that have come out as well. And you play through a series of missions. You're going to have a setup that's going to tell you, this is what you have to have on the table. So, like example, for the first adventure we played, the first mission, it was a couple of buildings for a village, some other terrain, and then it tells you, okay, you start in the center of the village, and then you're going to have some zombies on the board and some giant rats. And there's some clue markers, and you have to find out, what happened in this village. So you're going to be moving around. You have your ranger, and then you have a group of companions that come with you as well. Depending on the number of players you have, determines how many points you have to buy a companion. So if you have, generally starting out, if you have a one player playing, if you're playing solo, you'd have about 100 points to buy the rest of your crew, which could be anything from an arcanist or conjurer to like a barbarian or a knight, an archer, stuff like that, or even a hound or a raptor, like a falcon. Okay. When you have multiple players, each player is going to have fewer points to build their crew because you're going to have 2 rangers, and the game is scaled that way, so that way it doesn't get too easy, because I come in with my ranger, my 100 points, and you come in with your ranger and 100 points, and we kind of steamroll everything like it's nothing.
Sure.
So in let's say a 2-player game, you get half your normal build points minus 10. So that 100 you would start with normally, you'd start divided in half, and then minus 10, so you get 40 points to buy, which isn't a lot. You really have to be careful of what you choose, because, for example, a really good fighter, like say the Savage, costs you 35 points. So if you buy him, you're not really buying much else. You could buy a basic hound, which doesn't do a lot. But let's say a bloodhound or a raptor costs you 10 points. An archer might cost you 20. So you build up your little crew like that, and then you go off and, as I said, cooperatively, you're going to figure out what you have to do. That's usually where the clue tokens come in. You're going to run around and find different clues on the board and uncover them. When you interact with them, something will happen. You'll roll on a table, and it'll say, okay, so this clue, it was nothing good. It was actually a zombie. So now you have another zombie you have to fight. Or it could be that you found a piece of treasure or some missing person. You found a survivor from this village that was attacked. And then at the end, you're going to score points based on different objectives you achieved. Did you find all the clue markers? Awesome. You get this many or experience points. Every survivor you saved, and so you killed zombies and you killed the Shadow Knight, so you get points for all of those things. And then you will level up. Your ranger will become better. And your companions can also become better, although much slower than your ranger will. They get just progression points, which is they survive a mission, they get 1 point. But it's a really cool game. I mean, I love tabletop minis games, and I'm really a big fan of the skirmish type games where you have it's smaller. You're not managing a giant army, although I love those too. But I like the fact that you've got this small group that you're running, and the fact that it's co-op is really cool. Everything is handled by the scenario setup, and then there's also you have a deck of event cards, which is just card taken out of a regular deck of cards. You draw one as the mission tells you to, and usually 99% of the time, something bad happens. It could be something really bad, like, hey, this cloud of insects descends upon you all. Make a health save. And if you fail it, you're all diseased. And being diseased sucks because it's hard to get rid of. Or it could be something as less annoying as there's a heavy rain, so line of sight is shorter, and you have a negative when you're trying to shoot.
Okay.
So everything's D20 based. That's the only die you need. So you need a D20 and you need a deck of cards. As far as the minis go, this, much like Frostgrave before it, is what I call miniature agnostic. You do not have to buy specific minis for this. Do you have, so you want your ranger to be a dude with a bow and you want to have a swordsman with him? Do you have a miniature that has a bow and a guy who can hold the sword? Boom. You have your ranger and his companion. Do you have some zombies and some giant rats and some gnolls? Or, there's nothing saying you can't just proxy in something else and say, you know what? The rats are these red pawns that I have from this old copy of Sorry. So the fact you don't have to buy like specific minis line makes this game very, very approachable for someone. The core book you can get. Unfortunately for me, it makes me sad. I can't sell this in my store currently. It's not available in the stores. He sells it just through DriveThruRPG. But you can get the core book $30 with the PDF.
Nice.
I think the PDF alone is $20. So I don't $10 more is bring and get the book as well. And that's all you need. I mean, the terrain can be pretty much anything. If you're like me and you have terrain, it's great. But I mean, I need a couple of buildings. All right, here's a couple of, some old tissue boxes and whatever. So you don't need to invest a lot of money to play this. I mean, having better terrain makes for a more immersive experience, but you don't need it. So just we played for like almost 5 hours on Saturday.
Oh wow!
We played through three scenarios. So a mission will be broken out into different scenarios, parts of it. So the first mission was 2 scenarios. We played through those, then we started on the next one because we were having so much fun. So now we want to carry on and see how well we can do. And it starts you off where it's like, hey, come on in, fight a few things. This isn't so bad. And you think this isn't that hard at all. And then just one bad roll can really change things a lot because combat works simple. I have, let's say, a fight of +2. I'm fighting a giant rat that has a fight of 0. I roll a d20. We roll a d20 for the rat and find what your total is. And then whoever has the higher total wins the combat. Now, as far as damage goes, so say I rolled a 16 with my +2, so I have an 18. The rat rolled a 12. All right, so I beat the rat's 12. I then take my total, which is 18, and I subtract the rat's armor. So say the rat has an armor of 10. That means I do 8 points of damage to it because you do all the damage over that. Now, some weapons will do more damage, like a crossbow or a two-handed weapon do 2 extra damage. Daggers do 1 less damage, so they actually do -1 damage.
No.
But that's how damage works. But that means that this little rat that has 1 hit point, if you roll poorly and the rat beats you in a fight and it rolls really well, like what I did to my friend where I rolled a 20 for a rat and his armor's 11, that one rat did 9 points of damage to him.
Oh, jeez.
A ranger starts with 18 hit points.
Oh, man.
Your companions have less than that. Like a hound has between 6 to 8 hit points. So that rat can take out your hound with 1 hit if you roll poorly enough. So there's no creature that is simply pathetic. I mean, you might have a good advantage on it. You know, I have a +5 now in my fight because I've upped my skill and I have this magic sword. So I should hit more often than not, but it's still a roll of the die. And if that, you know, if that creature rolls really high and beats you, that's going to hurt, regardless of who you are. So I like the fact that there's nothing that is, you can't ignore anything on the board, because the battle can change just like that. Where all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I just took 8 points of damage. I'm basically at half my life. He hits me like that again, I'm out.
Wow.
And in some of the scenarios, things don't heal as much between missions, between scenarios. Between missions you can, but in scenarios you're just moving on. So a lot of stuff is not, you're not improving a lot between scenarios. And you get things like poison. Poison sucks because if you have poison, you normally get 2 actions. Poison eliminates 1 action. So normally you could like move and then like shoot your bow at something, or shoot your bow and move, however you want to do it. But if you're poisoned, you can do one of those. That's it. And you can't get rid of poison until you have your health back up to full. So there's a good chance you're going to be sitting through that entire mission poisoned because you don't have any way to heal. So we learned really, really quickly that healing is really important. So, but yeah, just super awesome game so far. I'm loving it so far. I want to try out. I picked up the other 2 campaign books, and I'm probably going to try one of them and try do some stuff solo to see how it plays completely solo, where it's not another player. Yeah, just a blast so far with this one.
That sounds really cool. Huh. And yeah, I did take a look at Drive-Thru RPG. And yeah, Rangers of Shadow Deep is available. You can get the watermarked PDF for $20.
Yep.
They do offer a soft cover, which is $30, a hard cover, and these are black and whites, just to be clear. Soft cover is $30, hard cover is $40, and you can get a combo of a watermarked PDF and a soft cover for $30, which that's a pretty sweet deal, or a watermarked PDF and the hardcover for $40. So basically you get the PDF thrown in.
Yep.
And yeah, they do have they have Rangers of Shadow Deep Blood Moon.
Yep. And then Temple.
Yeah, Temple of Madness.
Yep. So I just bought those today because I had so much fun playing it yesterday. So
yeah, and Blood Moon, if you get the watermarked PDF, that's $350.
Yeah.
And Temple of Madness is $12.50 for the PDF. So, yeah, this seems really cool. I dig what you're telling me, and it's really cool to see. It kind of my brain went to cheap ass games, you know, with the you get the core stuff that you can't get anywhere else, and then if you've got Monopoly money sitting around, you use that. If you've got counters or tokens sitting around from another game, you can use those, and that's how they keep those costs down. So this kind of reminds me of that in that regard. So no, this looks really cool, and I would love to play. I would absolutely love to play this game. Well, thank you very much for that.
Absolutely, Brad.
And speaking of cool things that I would like to have, let's talk briefly about Die Hard Dice. I may or may not have a dice problem. Not as much as our friend Rob Benton, but they've added their Mythica collection that they have now. I'm going to do a screen share here for our YouTubers. Here we go. So they are doing their Mythica dice, which are metal dice with an inlay of enamel, and their Spellbinder Nightfall. Whew, Those are beautiful. They're out of stock right now. That they went really fast.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about Die Hard Dice's stuff. They are a small company. They take very good care of the people that order from them, and they give them personal service. And when they offer something brand new that looks as beautiful as this, and you YouTubers are seeing this, the Spellbinder Nightfall dice are absolutely gorgeous. The way they capture the light, the blue and the purple, it's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. There are more in the line.
Find them before I do, because I will order them from my store. Then you won't get them unless you come to me.
And yeah, they're Inferno, which is their red and it's like a red and yellow enamel inlay. They had individual D20s, and those are.
Oh, curse your screen share! I want to scroll down, but I'm like trying to scroll. I'm like, it won't scroll.
But
I look at these every single week because I'm always having to. I mean, we started carrying these at my store it was like the last couple of days of June.
Okay.
So not even a year yet, and we have probably sold about $20,000 of Die Hard dice.
And that's a true testament to how good they are. Mm-hmm. And looking at these dice sets, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, if you look at other companies that offer similar dice that do something somewhat similar to this, you're tacking on at least another 20% extra to the cost. Nobody offers their stuff at these prices and have this kind of quality that I've found on the internet. Just God, the Scorched Rainbow is so beautiful.
Yeah, we saw a lot of those. I haven't gotten the mythic of Scorched ones, just the regular Scorched Rainbow we saw a lot of.
Sure. It's absolutely gorgeous. I can't recommend dieharddice.com enough. If you're looking for dice for just you want to spruce up the dice that you use for your gaming, I definitely go to dieharddice.com. And if you do, use the coupon code Adventure Party, all one word, and you get 10% off your entire order. So,
and they also sell the your standard. They're poly dice as well.
Yep, they poly dice. Accessories. They've got the dice trays, which I use all the time. So many
of those dice trays.
Yeah, the collapsible dice trays are awesome. I'm doing I've kind of talked about it a little bit, but I'm doing an RPG podcast that I'm recording, and my backpack is full of so much DM crap, all necessary, but it's a lot of stuff in that backpack. And being able to have a collapsible dice tray that I just, pop the snaps on it and it's flat is awesome, because that means it's less stuff for me to have to try to carry around. And my other hands, which I already got a backpack on, and I've got like my map case in one hand and my water bottle in the other, because I'm using an older backpack that doesn't have like the little mesh water bottle holder on the side. There's a lot going on there, and I'm very appreciative of the dice tray is really what I'm saying. And they offer them in all different colors. I'm gonna, for the YouTube folks, yeah, here we go. Teal velvet, black velvet. They got it in square. They've got it rectangle. They've got the octagonal. Oh, that's hexagonal. Sorry. There's 6 sides, not 8. So, but all different colors. It doesn't stop. It's awesome, and the heat changing, the color changing dice trays. Oh man, they've just got all sorts of interesting stuff to keep your gameplay interesting and beautiful. So please check out dieharddice.com. and use the coupon code Adventure Party, all one word, to get 10% off your entire order. So thank you for that, Todd and crew. Oh, our Kickstarter spotlight. When last we met, we talked about Shadows of Brimstone, which was a Flying Frog Productions game, and Flying Frog puts out high quality games. Absolutely wonderful games. They wrapped everything up. They were looking for $50,000.
It was close. It was close.
They made $1,150,000. So they overshot it by a lot. And honestly, the games are so high quality miniatures in every game that the games that I've the games that I own, the games that I've played, all the miniatures are beautiful, the boards, everything. They do an incredible job with their games. So it's no surprise that this established company did so well with this project. So yeah, that was a full-on go. And this week we're going to talk about, it's not a game actually, which it's a minor departure from what we normally do. But if you are a person who likes to build terrain for their games, this gentleman here has written a book, and it's funded within 7 hours. This gentleman, Mel, he's called the Terrain Tutor. And if you get a chance, go to YouTube and look up Mel, the Terrain Tutor. And he really started doing a lot of his stuff focused on trains. That's where he's done a lot of his stuff. And people started asking him about tabletop games, about RPGs, and making stuff for that. And of course, all of the things that he teaches for Train Terrain are 100% applicable to making terrain for games. And so, in addition to adding this to his YouTube channel, he has now created a book that, here you go. Let's see, $25 gets you the book as a PDF. $45 gets you the actual honest to God book. This man is a very talented individual who has been doing his YouTube channel for quite some time, and a full-on professional. And the skills that he can teach you, if you are interested in building terrain, are invaluable. And I do enjoy watching his program on YouTube, and it's funny. I watch a number of YouTube channels that do terrain, even though I'm not currently building terrain, but it's just really wonderful to see somebody take, like a lump of air dry clay or whatever and turn it into something that can be used and reused for tabletop gaming. So I highly recommend the channel, and though I haven't seen the book, if it's stuff that he talks about in his YouTube channel, it's well worth it. Well worth it. So
yeah, I've been a subscriber of his channel for a while.
Yeah. So you know what it's all about. And I wish I'm still setting up my shop, and I don't have a place for everything. And I'm looking at this, what I'm sharing with everybody on YouTube, and I would love to have a shop that looked that clean and organized.
Yeah.
With all of his tools and all of his material for flocking, and for making trees, and for putting ground cover on terrain. God, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So that is the spotlight for this time round, which is called Terrain Essentials, which is written by Mel the Terrain Tutor. So I highly recommend you go over there and check it out. As of right now, there are 20 days to go. The pledge goal is 40,000, and due to his popularity on YouTube and his skills and abilities, they've already broken that. Like I said, it was funded in 7 hours. They're at 111,000. So this is a go for sure. And yeah, if you currently make or are thinking of making terrain, you should check his stuff out for sure. You won't regret it. So all right, that is our spotlight for this week. Now, you proposed, Glenn, for this particular meeting that we talk about RPG podcasts. And are they a boon or a bane for the RPG world? Do you think that they encourage people to play or discourage people from playing?
Yeah, and I think, and this is more along the lines of the actual streams of play, not like something like where Brad and I talk about an RPG.
Yeah.
where they're actually playing, like a Critical Role or something like that.
Yeah.
And there are people who out there now. I am very much of the opinion that overall these are a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people out there who feel that Matt Mercer and his group of voice actor friends set unrealistic expectations for role players. That for people who have not played before, they think they're going to come in and they're going to play basically Critical Role, where everyone's going to be talking with these voices, and they're going to have. And I mean, that may be some people, but I can say personally, from in my store, a lot of people I have who are playing D&D in my store and who have really gotten into it have gotten into it because of Critical Role and because of other the other big one that I'm forgetting now with the brothers. Oh my gosh, it's gonna bug me now. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
Yeah, and I'm gonna see if I can find it quick. RPG podcast. It's like Adventure something. Adventure Zone. That's another big one. Justin Travis and Griffin McElroy, and that one I think is even better because it doesn't. It's not the. I'm not saying that it's not a good podcast, but it's not the level that Critical Role is. I mean, it's a very popular podcast. It has a ton of listeners, and they're fun and they're funny. So I think that these things overall are a good thing. Now, the one problem I have seen is that I know people who listen to these podcasts and then complain they don't have time to play. And I'm like, well, how much time do you spend listening to the podcasts? Because an episode of Critical Role and like the Adventure Zone, I mean, these are 2-3 hours long an episode. So I have a friend who will spend 6, 10, 12, 20 hours a week listening to RPG podcasts, and then he sits there and goes, yeah, I just don't have time to play. I'm like, you do. You do. You specifically told me you were listening, you were catching up on Critical Role on a Wednesday night at 7:00. I'm like, you could have been playing D&D in my store. We run D&D every Wednesday and Saturday, and we run RPGs pretty much at one of our stores. You can come play some RPG of some kind every day of the week. If it's not D&D, you can join me. I run a new one every month. I'm currently running Flash Gordon for Savage Worlds, and that's been a blast.
Nice.
But I think overall, they've given a lot more exposure to role-playing games that was not already there. I mean, and there's people who, in their minds, well, it's like, well, it doesn't need that exposure. It's always, it's always been popular amongst a certain group of people who generally are also not the most socially outgoing people outside of their own circles.
Yeah, I would give you that. And, it's really interesting to you and I have been gaming for quite some time. You know, like my first experience was like early to mid 1980s. I'm guessing you were about that same time period.
1978.
So you way predate my experience.
I had the benefit that my father worked for a
That's
book
right.
binder that
Yes.
printed the books. So I got my first toe dipped in way early.
Yeah. And to come from the Satanic Panic era, where it was considered utterly taboo, borderline conjuring, or you're hanging out with Satan himself, to fast forward to now, where it's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, and yeah, that's a big part of it. And I mean, it's erased some of the stigma, especially because now you have some people who are famous because of RPGs, like Matt Mercer and them. I mean, now mind you, all those people on there are also voice actors, so they're famous for that.
Yeah, yep.
But then you also have people like Joe Manganiello.
Yeah.
Who is a huge gamer, and that really kind of goes against the whole trope of the, well, you're just a bunch of, you know, fat nerds sitting in a basement who, you know, can't get girls. I'm like, dude's married to Sofia Vergara. So you know, there's got to be something more to it than just he's a stupid nerd who plays D&D.
And he's a handsome dude. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Yeah,
he's a very handsome man. And yeah, who's another one that Deborah Ann Wall,
and she had a couple other people from she has I forget the actor's name, but
Charlie, yeah, the guy that played Matt Murdock, Daredevil.
Yeah. He's going to be on our show. Charlie Cox. Yeah. Yep. And I mean, Stephen Colbert used to play.
Oh yeah.
And you've got a lot of people who either used to play or still play. I mean, Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
So, and it's seeing these people. And I mean, yeah, there's some where it's like, oh well, yeah, Brian Posehn plays, and you know, Patton Oswalt was like, well, yeah, they were already our people. As far as like the 1980s idea went, that's what people thought of. They thought of, you know, Brian and Patton and people like that, is that they thought those were the people who played.
Yep.
And the thing is that was some of them, and they're funny as hell. So yeah, and they're successful, which I think is the thing, is that it shows that it's something that is open to a wide range of people.
Yeah. You know, my friend and former guest and my boss, Andy Gilly, was a jock.
Yeah.
And he kept playing D&D on the absolute down low. Nobody could find out that he played because, again, it was the 80s and you were some kind of weird demon-loving creep if you played the game. And it's it's so it's almost, if you think about it hard enough, from our perspective, it's jarring actually. At a certain level, it's like, oh, this is cool now, and it's, you know, it's been cool to us, but it's more mainstream. And that kind of sounds like, we loved it first, so screw you. And it's not where we're coming from. I don't think. Where we're coming from is it's good. It's good for the industry that we've loved. It's, you know, looking at the variety of genres, the variety of systems that are now available, and the level of interest. There's more people to play with than we ever had before. And, you know, and it's really kind of benefited, like the podcast that I'm working on right now. I have 12 episodes ready to go. I need the intro music. I'm just waiting on that, and I could start releasing them. And it's just really interesting that two of the people that are in the group that I've put together, two of them have never played before. And I, honest to God, didn't ask one of them because she is she's not into you ask her anything about a pop culture reference or anything like that, and she doesn't know and has no real interest. So she was actually slightly hurt that I didn't ask her. And I said, Karina, I never thought that you would be interested. And she's an amazing player. Holy crap. She brings so much energy to that game and a whole different vibe and angle to the gameplay, and having people, bounce their stuff off of her. It's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. So, and
go ahead.
That's part of what these shows show is that, I consider myself to be a rather open and welcoming game master or just player in general. But I look back and there's people I would never have thought, I didn't think you would like it. It just didn't seem to ask. And it wasn't just women, but it was just people in general. It's like, yeah, you're a big jock. Why would I think you'd like this? And then part of me goes, idiot, you played two players in your college in college were on the football team.
Yeah. And I don't think it's so much being exclusionary. It's just, like for me, Karina didn't fit she had no interest in any of the other things that kind of go along with it. And she is she's a radio personality who was in California for a while and did improv, and she approached it from an improv perspective and saw this as a way to develop and play around with her improv skills, which, duh. Had I looked at it from that perspective, of course I would have asked her, because that is in her wheelhouse. And I didn't want her to have to, you don't want to invite somebody and have them feel like they kind of have to sit there and not enjoy it. And, that's where my head was at. And I now I'm kind of kicking myself for that. And I'm not going to do that again in the future.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful to have her and that energy in the game. It's kind of interesting having to rein her in, actually, because she doesn't know of in one session she threw out, I'm like, okay, it's your turn. And she threw out 3 things at me, rapid fire. And I'm like, okay, let's unpack this. What would you like? What is, of the 3 things you've listed, what is the most important thing for you to do right now? And she's just, and don't get me wrong, they're all great players. But I'm highlighting her because, again, I overlooked her. And I think us more established people are probably very guilty of overlooking some people that could honestly enjoy it. But the nice thing about these podcasts is people can hear what it's like and actually seek it out. Most of us aren't jackasses. If you say, hey, I'd love to play, we'll be more than willing to set something up and make something happen. If we're able to do that. So no, I agree. I think it is a good thing. To me, listening to Brian Posehn's Nerd Poker, it filled a spot in my life when I wasn't necessarily playing as much as I liked. So it was kind of cool to listen to somebody else play. The one problem that I'm seeing logistically is, while you are doing the narrative, you're telling that story, when you go to a map, at that point, either you need to slow down your gameplay and give the best visual description of what's happening on the map and where people are. I haven't quite figured out how to make that work. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like placement and where people are in a room necessarily, or marching order, to how people are lined up in a room. you kind of ride that line doing a podcast. And a part of me wants to like put the map up that I'm using, make that like, the image or an additional, link that you can click to see the map so you can look at it while you're listening. If you are listening at a desktop or you're actively listening on your phone and you can actually click links and stuff like that. But for the map that I'm using, I'm reusing a map from something else, and I don't really have the rights.
Sure, yeah.
And I was trying to find the original author, and currently I'm failing, so I can't really. And I'm kind of grateful that I don't have the episodes up now, because I can't find the. I would really like to, put that up so people could follow along, and maybe that's how you kind of get around it, to offer that for people to check out. But
yeah. Well,
anyway,
I just want to add too. I think that aside from just being a way to attract new players, it's also listening to some of these other people play. As someone who doesn't get to play that often, because I'm always running.
Sure.
It's nice to see how some other people play and how some other people run games too. And I've been getting one of my favorites right now that I've been listening to is 12-Sided Stories. They're on their second season of Otherworld London, which is a
that's
podcast with
Mac. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Mac is in that, and then they just did a season of and I'm forgetting it was a space one that was really well, and those have been a blast too, because they run them rules light, but then the guy who runs it, Wes, he and his wife, they compose music and sound effects for games. They a company called Plate Mail Games, so he does all this extra editing work. So they don't record live, they record, and then he goes in and he adds sound effects and all that type of stuff, and music and overlays and all this audio, which makes for a really interesting thing too. Now, not everyone's gonna be able to do that, but it's the fact that you can see what just a little bit, like what some background music might do for a setting, depending on what you're running, and also picking up that sometimes it's good to play a little more loose with the rules, and just going more with, let's just tell a story. So getting a variety of how people run games and a variety of settings that I don't always get exposure to. I mean, I have lots of exposure to Cthulhu, but much less to sci-fi stuff. I don't run or play that stuff as much as I used to. So just seeing what else is out there too. I mean, don't get caught in the trap of I won't be able to do, effects like Wes does. It's like, well, one, you can because he sells them, but even if you can't, it's like, don't use that as your barometer. I mean, if everyone did that, I had a friend who for a long time, he was an artist, wanted to be an artist, but he would look at like some of the big names in fantasy art, like Tony DiTerlizzi and people like that, and be like, yeah, but I'm not as good as him. It's like, you don't need to be as good as someone else. You're already good. That's like, should no one write because they won't write as well as, Shakespeare? I mean, that's not how it works.
Yeah. No, agreed. And it's, the first few sessions that I ran, and just so people kind of get the perspective of what we're doing, is we actually run this during our lunch hour on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
So the podcast episode will never be longer than an hour. If it's longer than an hour, HR will probably step in. Although we've had a couple of, we had a session just recently where it was like we were zipping along and stuff's happening, and they're like, one of the air staffers that plays is like, I need to be on the air in 3 minutes. Can we wrap this up? And I'm like, oh crap. Okay. Sorry about that. Cause we had the first 10 minutes of squirreliness. And I wasn't keeping an eye on the time. And so there you go. But how long do you think is too long for for a live play session? Or how long do you think is good?
For me personally, this is one of the reasons I think I've been enjoying the Otherworld London stuff so much, is that they keep it like a long one is like an hour, but they're like,
Okay.
In that 45 minutes to an hour range. And that's good for me. And they break things up well. Now, I think it's going to be different for everyone. Some people don't mind sitting through a 3 hour long thing. I don't generally have the time, like that 40 minutes to an hour. I can do that on the time from I leave my house and my, getting ready for work and then driving to work and then, punching in. And then I can get that podcast done. When it's longer, I have to break it up. And then if it's broken up by 6 to 8 hours of work, then it's like, where did I leave off? And what were they? Okay, I left up in a bad spot. Now I got to rewind a bit to get a better spot to start. And I don't know what's going on anymore. So, but it's going to vary per person. I personally like a little shorter. I mean, it doesn't mean the story has to be shorter. It just means you break it up into more chunks.
Yeah.
Because you can do that with these. It's easy where it's like, okay, we got an hour. We're going to fit this in an hour. And, that also means that you have to, as the person running it, as the game master, who pretty much is in charge of, the recording style, because of the fact that they're going to be the ones who are going to know the good places to take that break. And you have to be able to do that. And it's never a bad idea to go, it's like that comment's about to start. All right, we're going to end it right here. And boom, you've got one, now you have people anticipating that next episode. And two, the next episode starts with something that really grabs the attention, as opposed to ending on just some, it's like, we're going to go shopping at the store and I'm going to buy a new saddle. Great. And then we're going to stop it there. And then we come back next week and it's just them buying a saddle. You didn't give me any really reason to stick around. And then I come back and it's like, oh, I came back for saddle shopping?
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
We're at Walmart. Excellent.
So, and I mean, I guess in a way too, it feels more like a television show, like a serial, like I'm watching like a Game of Thrones or a Supernatural or whatever, where it's that, it's that the episode feels somewhat contained, but there's a bigger story going on still. So you're not done, but you've got that little taste and you got that little block that's finished. It's like, all right, we got this part done, on to the next little bit. So, but like I said, personal preferences may vary. I don't like sitting and listening to something for that long. Now, like a book I can do, because books, I can break it up by chapters. So, because this is what happened when I mentioned somebody that didn't want to catch up on Critical Role because I'm so far behind. And I'm like, I don't have the time to sit and listen to 2 and 3 hour long episodes 40 times.
Yeah. And
someone said, well, did you listen to books and how long are those? I'm like, yeah, but I break that up into, I can do 15 minutes and get, 1 or 2 chapters done and stop. And I have a chapter break. So it's different for me. It's just the way I like to listen to stuff. There's not really a good chapter break in a 3 hour long RPG session generally. Unless you'd happen to find it, when it's already broken up for you because the game master, has a stopping point. We're going to stop at this point. That's great.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we found ourselves last week. Is we were moving things along, and I was kind of taking a slightly rules light approach with this particular combat to keep things moving. But yeah, we got to a point where things were about to happen, and it was not a great stopping point, but we had to stop there. We didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Because I was about to lose a couple of players because they had to get back to work, as did I. So I need an extra clock in that area where we're at so I can not do that again. But anyways, enough of my trials and tribulations. I think that we both really agree that this is overall something that's really good for the hobby. For people who don't have the opportunity to necessarily game, but they have that itch. It's a good way to scratch it. For people who run games, it's great to see how other people some people are gifted wordsmiths, and some people are big on brevity. And when you're trying to do theater of the mind, you need to marry the two to try to get the most out of what describing a scene, but not turn it into Shakespeare. And by that I mean by length. It's good to see, and that's part of the reason why I listen to some of this stuff. Is it's good to hear how people craft their wording, their phrasing, how they structure their descriptions of a scene, and not have it sound like prepackaged text written on a page, like we call box text in a module. So it doesn't sound robotic. It sounds natural, like it's flowing, like you're not breaking the tone of the game by stopping and reading something. So I think it's really kind of good to get those different perspectives of how other people run their stuff and how you can improve your narrative style. I think that's always a good thing to do. And then third and finally is for people who have never played, are interested, have heard about it, they can hear what a game could potentially be like. And with the caveat of you're not going to get into Critical Role, the chances that the game that you join is not going to be at that level. You're not going to, and some people are kind of like, who I think it was Karina was wondering, are we going to have to speak in accents and stuff? I'm like, dude, no, you do what you want to do. You're going to hear like old man prospector voice from me, and that's about it. That's all I'm really comfortable with doing. And so you do what you want to do and get what you want to out of the game, and put what you want to, and I'll try to reciprocate so that you get that level of energy back as much as possible. So yeah, I think those are definitely the boons of this I don't want to call it a trend, but this particular the type future.
The future is here.
Of the future. No, these particular types of podcasts that are available. So, and someday when I release mine, I'll give people an address they can go to check it out. I'm still negotiating to try to get it under the Galactic Netcasts umbrella as well as the company umbrella that I work for. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But anyway, enough about me. What we should do, though, is wrap things up.
Yeah, sure.
So if you'd like to chat with the hosts or listen or the other listeners of this Galactic Netcast 24 hours a day, you can go to gncasts.com/signup, and we'll add you to our Slack team, so you'll have the ability to interact with us in real time. And give us feedback on the episodes. It's all good. Again, go to gncasts.com/signup. For more on this podcast, including show notes, contact info, and more, you can go to gncasts.com/adventure, or you can look for the Galactic Netcast YouTube channel as well. If you have a question or comment on anything that you've heard on this Galactic Netcast, you can email adventure@gncasts.com. You can leave a voicemail message, or you can text this number as well, 805-328-3966. Again, 805-328-3966. Or you can go to gncasts.com/contact. And we do listen to, read, and appreciate all of your feedback. You can also subscribe to this Galactic Netcast by going to gncasts.com/subscribe, or you can search for us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, or anywhere podcasts are offered. And last and certainly not least, thank you to Mark Wooldridge of the Central Battery Music Works for our theme music.
Woohoo.
So, yes, sir. The show wouldn't be the same without Mark's music, that's for sure. Glenn, where can people?
I didn't do it.
Where can people find out more about you, Mist Runner? What else you do?
Best thing for now is if you want to really follow anything I do, I'm on Twitter a lot, too much. So you can follow me on Twitter at Guy in a Bunker. I'm also on Facebook, so is Mist Runner and my other games and projects as well.
Boom. There it is.
Come to my store in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin.
There you go.
I'm there a lot.
Check out the Board Game Barrister and see a very, very tired and overworked Glenn Bittner. I don't mean to laugh at your misfortune. I just know how hard you work, sir. And
it's fun too. So.
Yeah, if it's something you enjoy, it's not always work. So it's a good place to be. All right, thanks to everybody for joining us on this particular. God, I'm so rusty and I need a nap. Hey, thanks for showing up. We'll check you later. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic. All right. Thank you and good night. Okay, bye.